All right, we can start.
Okay, we'll go ahead and start the meeting, the joint meeting of the House and Senate Higher Education. And I think Chairman Fran, what do you go by, Miller or Millar?
Whatever you want.
Fran Miller is going to adopt some rules.
I appreciate it, man. Welcome to the dark side.
Thank you all for joining us today. Since we have a quorum here from higher education, you give us about 2 seconds here, I believe. We have not changed any rules from last year. Do I have a motion to adopt the rules from last year?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, raise your hand. Now we got that out of the way. We'll turn to the rules of perfection. We refer that. We'll turn the meeting back. We'll turn the meeting back over to Chairman Rogers.
Thank you. Senator Gann, are you on this committee?
Don't tell anybody. It's our secret.
Okay. Well, you were
Always good to be with you, Mr. Chairman.
okay. Just checking. I want to make sure.
Fran said I could.
Okay, that's all that matters. We're glad to have you. So, anyway, for the House members, you have in your folder a presentation by the Board of Regents, and I have been told it's not the correct. It is. It is correct now? Okay. It is it is correct now. Okay. But you're still going to do a presentation too, right? PowerPoint. Okay. Very good. Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. And we don't have to adopt any rules in the House. We did ours last year, so everything's still the same. So, yeah.
We knew that.
It's a 2-year term, so that's the reason we did it. I think the first up is Dr. Steve Wrigley. Executive Vice Chancellor, University of Georgia, University System of Georgia, I should say. Dr. Wrigley, good to have you here.
Thank you, Chairman Rogers.
Wait a minute. See if the mic's on. Is it?
Chairman Rogers, there we go. Chairman Miller, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity for the Board of Regents to talk to you a little bit about our priorities. First, Chancellor Huckabee extends his regrets. He's on the road, had a couple of commitments at a couple of institutions in South Georgia, and felt like he couldn't change those. He is sorry he couldn't be here and looks forward to another time to meet with you. I want to thank you for the support that you give the university system and have given us through the years. It's important that we be partners, and you've always been very good to us. You hear our issues, and you always listen to us, and we want to be a good partner in return. So we very much appreciate that support. I want to talk to you a little bit about the priorities that we have. You've seen these before. I think I went the wrong way already. Yes, this is it. I told Chairman Rogers that I was doing the technology and trying to do the presentation, so that could be a challenge, but appreciate your patience. As you know, in 2011, Governor Deal announced the Complete College Georgia initiative, which is part of Complete College America. It's an effort for us to increase the number of folks in the state of Georgia with a college degree of some kind. Our target is that by 2025, we'll be graduating about 80,000 people a year. We're currently right around 60,000. That number has increased by about 10% in the last 4 years. We feel like we're on target, but this is our focal point, and it is our priority to help us make sure we're doing our part to help prepare the workforce for the state of Georgia in the coming years. Talk a little bit about the faculty salaries. You've seen this slide. We in 2000, you can see we were ranked about 5th in the SRAB states. Since then, we've slipped to around 9th. We recognize it's been tough economic times in the state, very much understand that. The average faculty salary is some measure of our ability to compete for a workforce of our own in terms of hiring faculty. A number of states that are ahead of us that we do compete with very directly to hire faculty, and we appreciate very much the governor's recommendation of a 3% increase in the fiscal 17 budget, and I know the chancellor spoke to that in the budget hearing. We also understand how difficult it is to come up with an amount of money like that, and again, we appreciate it and we appreciate your support of that. Talk about affordability, and I know this is a subject that we've all talked a lot about recently. We still feel like our tuition rates are very competitive in the SREB states. We're sort of in the middle of the pack. We're about 7th lowest. You can see the states that are ahead of us and the tuition rates and fees for four-year institutions. We recognized last year the increases at both Georgia Tech and University of Georgia have caused a lot of discussion and criticism. We certainly understand that. Chancellor Huckabee's been very concerned about tuition increases, and since he's been chancellor, the majority of our institutions have been getting 2.5% increases. And I think last year about 20 of our institutions received 2.5% increases, and we try to keep those increases low. It's a priority for us. Both UGA and Tech, as you know, are nationally and internationally known research institutions. They compete for students and faculty around the nation. They both have specific ways they plan to spend that money and have spent that money. UGA, for example, started an initiative to lower class size, added about 300 new course sections in critical course areas. Making those courses available hopefully will speed time to graduation for students. So we do require and ask that when they have a tuition increase, they spell out for us exactly how they will spend the funds and how it will benefit students. I want to chat a little bit about consolidation. You're all very familiar with this. Starting in 2011, first part of 2012, we've begun several consolidation efforts. We've reduced the number of institutions in the state from 35 to 29. We feel like we operate more efficiently now. We feel like we can focus our academic offerings and meet the needs of students better. And that was our priority going in, is how can we serve students better? And we feel like through the consolidation efforts, we've been able to do that. You're aware of the various consolidations. The most recent one that the board approved and we feel like is concluded is Georgia State and Georgia Perimeter. It'll be this fall for the first time. They'll actually act as a single institution for financial aid and enrollment and admission purposes. So we still have work to do to get that one completed, but it's largely completed. We also began the consolidation of Albany State and Darton and Southwest Georgia, and trying to transform those two institutions into a single effectively functioning one that will serve Southwest Georgia and that region of the state. Thus far, we feel like consolidations have saved us in the neighborhood of $18 million in administrative costs that we have the chancellors required the institutions to reinvest those into student services and student programs and the like. So we feel good about where we are. There are very few states, if any, that have the record that we have on consolidating institutions, and we feel good about that. It's not easy to do. But we feel like it is it's the right thing to do, and it makes our institutions most effective in serving students. I want to talk a little bit about enrollment. The last couple of years, we've had a slight increase, I think 1.7% this year, 1.1% the year before. That's very different from prior years. You can see we had a steep climb in enrollment. A lot of this reflects a national trend. It reflects demographic trends nationwide. In our case, our enrollment growth that we've had is somewhat uneven. Institutions in South Georgia, many of them are experiencing either flat enrollment or declining enrollment and have for several years. It creates some challenges for us with respect to those institutions, not just meeting budgets, but also meeting the needs of their students. And it's important. We work very closely with the presidents that are experiencing enrollment challenges. We have enrollment management plans in place. So they're all very focused on the need to maintain their enrollments and grow them where they can. We have some institutions that are growing very rapidly. Again, most in North Georgia, West Georgia, and Kennesaw in particular are seeing rapid growth. Georgia Tech, and of course, Georgia Gwinnett. Those institutions are growing very rapidly. Move on when ready, which is legislation that, of course, passed last year, has been really wildly successful. And I think we've seen something in the neighborhood of an 18% growth in students enrolled there, and are optimistic we will see even more because, again, it decreases the amount of time that a student has to have in order to get a degree. And time, by most studies, is the enemy of getting a degree. So we're very optimistic about how that is going to work. We do have one piece of legislation this year. It's carry forward reauthorization. This legislation was put in place in 2003. It's renewed. We asked it to be renewed every 3 years. It allows our institutions to carry forward a small amount of their funds. It eliminates the sort of year-end rush to try to spend funds and gives them a little more flexibility fiscal year to fiscal year. We appreciate that Representative Earhart has agreed to carry that for us. I think this may be the third time that he has been the author of that legislation, and Senator Bethel will be handling that for us in the Senate, and recommend that to you as well. That's a quick rundown on the system priorities. As I said, I think you've seen most of this before, and I'll be happy to answer any questions. Again, appreciate the chance to talk with you about what our priorities are.
Okay, we have one question here from Senator Miller.
First of all, we appreciate you pinch hitting today very much, number one.
Thank you, sir.
And I think you do have to be applauded for the consolidation moves that you've made, because it does make a difference. I believe it was at the appropriations hearing, the question was asked if you all could furnish a 10-year history on tuition and fees for people. And if you could get that to members of both the committees, it would be very much appreciated here in the near future. If that could be done, it would be appreciated. That's the first point. Second point is, I think you have to anticipate there may be a study committee, maybe Senate, maybe House, maybe joint, that we need to get a handle on why the high cost of higher education in this state, the reasons for it, and whether it's because we haven't given you enough money, or we're not spending enough money wisely, or we don't have too much administration, whatever it is. But I do think that could probably be going forward. You need to be prepared that at the end of this session there may be a study committee in that area. And again, I do think, when you look at health care and you look at other issues, as you know, the cost of higher ed is on everybody's mind. Mm-hmm. And so anyway, we'd be remiss if we didn't say that to you, to bring back to the Chancellor.
Okay.
That's one area. The other thing, I do applaud you. I know you're trying to do something on needs-based aid, and the Chancellor's working on some initiatives as well, and we look forward to working with you on that. But very much appreciate you being here today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Senator, and we certainly look forward to working with the study committee. We can always do better, and we look forward to doing better, and appreciate your comment on the need-based aid. Thank you.
Okay, Representative Bentley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for the presentation. This is really good information. As it relates to institution consolidations, can you share with me a little bit about what is it that the Board of Regents and the Chancellor look for when they are considering consolidating a university?
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am. In 2011, when the Chancellor first called for a look at the possibility of consolidating some of our institutions, we developed 6 principles. Now on our website, and I'll be sure to get those to you, which would guide our decisions and assessments of which institutions to consolidate. And they're around, does the consolidation serve students better? Does it create effectiveness? Does it create more opportunities to expand educational services? So there's 6 principles that we have, and I'll be happy to get you a copy of those. And those guide the detailed assessments of institutions before we make a recommendation to the board about a consolidation.
And one last piece in regards to the demographics, how do you determine which university to consolidate with another university?
Again, it goes back to those 6 principles. There are a lot of factors involved. In the case of Georgia State and Georgia Perimeter, for example, Georgia Perimeter was the #1 feeder school of Georgia State with respect to transfers. There was proximity in terms of campuses, a lot of overlap in where the students who attended both, where they lived, just a variety of factors like that that we look at.
Mm-hmm. I see South Georgia State College is on here. Who do they merge with?
Waycross.
Waycross.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All righty. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Is that you, Senator Jackson?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, it is. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you once again for being here. I have a question about consolidation, and it's about Augusta University. If there's concerns about the name change, who do my constituents write the letters to instead of my office?
Come on, they're coming to our office.
Yes.
I would say, right, Chancellor Huckabee. So,
but since he's not here, but I have a
you're certainly, if we can help you with that, let me know. We'll be happy to help you with that.
There's there's a number of constituents that were once proud to be called Medical College of Georgia, and the name has changed 4 or 5 times now, and I know it costs $5 million every time we change the name, and there's still some concern about the name change, and that's Dr. Huckabee that can address that.
Let me just say this. We, as you know, it was the Medical College of Georgia, and then it became Georgia Health Sciences University, I believe. And then with the change of presidents and the consolidation, he felt like the institution needed a broader name which encompassed a variety of programming. So it became Georgia Regents University, and then you probably heard there was some backlash in Augusta about that. And so we ultimately landed with some, after discussions among a variety of people on the Augusta University, we've heard some of the same complaints. The Medical College of Georgia obviously remains a college of that institution and has that separate distinction and branding, if you will. But we'd be happy to speak with anybody that you'd want us to, and if you have letters we need to answer, help you answer, we'd be glad to help you do that.
Thank you. And one follow-up question?
Yes.
Or is there on the horizon any move to consolidate any more colleges and universities?
At this point, no. We don't have any active studies or analysis underway. As I indicated, we're still concluding the Georgia perimeter, Georgia State consolidation, and we've just started the Albany State University and Darton State College consolidation. So those two, just in terms of workload, are keeping us busy. We tend to like to try to get the ones we have active tied down before we start new ones, but we're not looking at anything actively right now.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Representative Holcomb.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for your presentation. It was very interesting and informative. And one of the questions that I'd like to ask you about is the sub-theme of most of your comments had to do with money and expenses and costs, from consolidation to teachers' raises, et cetera. Where is the university system in terms of providing online learning? We're now at a place where I think that can be done in a way that doesn't sacrifice quality. And so is that in the future? And if so, can you describe how?
It's a great question, and we want to do more in the future, but we've done a lot in the last 3 or 4 years. And the number of online courses, I think, has tripled or something like that just in the last few years. I forget the exact numbers. We can get you those. It's been an emphasis from the chancellor to our campuses in the last 3 or 4 years. The number of students enrolled either online full-time or online part-time, and some students might be enrolled in an institution and they may be taking a traditional class in a facility, and they may also be taking an online course, so that they have sort of a blended schedule. But it's a high priority with us. We've seen a big increase in the number of courses offered, and in addition, we have developed what we call eCore, where all the core courses are offered online. And if you're a student, at example, at West Georgia, and you can't get a certain core course at West Georgia, you can enroll in it online through eCore. We've in the process of developing another program called eMajor, where students, we have programs now that are offered 4-year degrees and other degrees online, but we're going to develop major courses that will be offered system-wide as well. So it is growing significantly as a part of our offerings.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Number 11, is that you, Senator O'Rourke? Okay.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. Good to have you with us, Mr. Wrigley. And I guess I had two questions. And one is on the it somewhat follows Representative Bentley's concern about, how you weigh and assess with this array of institutions that meet different needs and serve different sectors of our population, always striving for a balance so that the heavy hitters at the top are not always soaking up the vast majority of the resources. And I've got a small school in my district that's of primary importance to the people that are attending there and their families, and that's often first generation, almost totally first generation degree seekers at the college level, and that's the Atlanta Metropolitan, and that's made great gains and doubled its tuition, and is operating with the library and administration building sharing space in a 40-year-old building that was one of the first buildings built when they established that institution. And it's just awfully hard sometimes to feel that the little fellows get a shot when you've got, and I have major star-studded institutions in my district that had that lineup over there at Regents that we're very proud of. But seeking that balance in allocating resources and looking at the very kind of fragile populations that desperately need the best that we can do for them in downtown Atlanta.
Thank you, Senator. Again, in consolidation, we don't have a one-size-fits-all or a cookie-cutter approach. When we begin to look, we really look at the advantages to students. Mm-hmm. For example, in one of the first ones we did became UNG, North Georgia and Gainesville. Gainesville area had a deficiency in offering of 4-year degrees, and rather than build those out at what was then Gainesville State College, through the consolidation, sure, we've been able to increase the number of 4-year degree offerings just by having, through the consolidation. I think it's gone from 4 to 22 or something like that. And
I wasn't so much speaking about the consolidation issue, which I understand the toughness of those decisions, but it's around assessing institutional needs at vastly different the scale and the scope of these institutions, and you have that all to juggle, and I just hope that the small fry can get some real mainline support from the regions, and then when the governor writes his budget, it's.
And we do consider that of course, the funding formula is driven by credit hour production, which mm-hmm. serves as the basic way we allocate the funding, and that tends to equalize just based on the credit hour production. We do look at other factors, and we look at performance factors like graduation rates and those kinds of things.
Exactly.
And we do take into account every institution tends to serve a different kind of student, and we do understand that and take that into account.
Just a final quick question. This is not new territory. Our higher ed committee in the Senate took a look at a bill I did last year around leveling the playing field on in-state tuition for non-citizen students who are products of our K through 12 education system. We've invested $100,000 on average in each student that comes out of a 12 or 13-year program, and right now there's that real barrier that's in place in the Regents' rules and regs on having these students whose parents pay taxes in Georgia and who live in Georgia, who drink Georgia water, get up every day, put their fit shoes on, and walk on the Georgia ground, and we're charging them out-of-state tuition, which prices them out of an in-state school experience in our great institutions, and sends them off somewhere else if they're lucky enough to be able to afford it. But most of them, it means that they're not these top students who've performed and are eligible in all ways to be admitted are blocked by that by those regulations that were put in place. And I'd love to see the Regents work at 20-some states now are doing in-state tuition for non-citizens kids that go to school there. And I hope you all can start looking at that with fresh eyes.
Well, I think the current policy we have conforms us to state law, actually, on that issue. So mm-hmm. I think state law would have to change before we could take a look at it.
Well, and our chairman has held hearings, and I think that'll be something going forward that we'll continue to be having that conversation. Okay. Well, welcome your input. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rigger.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you all.
Appreciate it. Okay, next is, who is next? Commissioner Corbin, Technical College System of Georgia. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. Please let you.
Thank you, Donna. Thank you, Donna. She's pretty fabulous, isn't she, Mr. Chairman?
I just listened to the Live My Life.
Well, Mr. Chairman, thank you very much to both of you and both committees for hosting me today here on behalf of the Technical College System of Georgia. It is an honor to be with you here on behalf of Governor Dill, our entire Technical College System team, our faculty and staff, as well as our most important individuals within the TCSG team, and that is our students. As you know, we have 22 colleges serving the state. We have approximately 85 campuses, 15,000 employees, over 300,000 students that are within the Technical College System of Georgia. In adult education, well, let me just back up a little bit. Our bottom line at the Technical College System of Georgia, as you know, is workforce development. We know that this is our priority. We know that it's our mission, and we take it very seriously. We do so by working within 3 areas: adult education, technical education, and economic development. Within adult education, which has really been on the forefront this past week, we know that we have 1.8 million Georgians who do not have their high school diploma. So we take this very seriously. 1.8 million Georgians who have the opportunity to have a GED so that they can further themselves in their career or go on to higher education. And so we work with these individuals. It's been in the media this week. We've been very excited that the National Test Center for GED has looked at its tests that we have been collecting data for in the past 2 years and has recalibrated its scoring on a national level to more reflect that of a high school degree. So our score level has come down by 5 points, and what we have found that in Georgia over the past 2 years retroactively, we will see almost 1,900 additional Georgians who will receive their GED. And you know, we should celebrate when we can celebrate, right? And I will tell you that over the past week, our GED staff members have been calling these 1,900 individuals, and they have said there have been individuals that have been crying, saying this is changing our lives. And so we're very appreciative of that. We're appreciative of everybody in Georgia being patient with us while we were working with the Test Center over the past 2 years to collect this data. We know that it more accurately reflects a high school credential now, and we're thrilled about that. Technical education, or let me go to economic development. Economic development, as you know, is our shining star. Through Georgia Quick Start and our VPs of Economic Development at our colleges, we are serving Georgia's companies, whether those are new companies coming in, working with Quick Start to receive free customized training for their employees as they begin working with those companies, or whether it's working with our local companies through our VPs of Economic Development to provide contract training. We want to do that. You'll see this year, we talked about it during budget hearings, economic development, we have had 73,536 trainees this year. That is significant. We had just last year in the area of 57,000 trainees for economic development within Quick Start. So we've had an increase of approximately almost 20,000 trainees just through the Quick Start program. I think this speaks to the economy, the great prospects that the state of Georgia has brought in through its economic development efforts, and of course our training within Quick Start. You've heard us say, we will continue to say, not only do we think that Quick Start is wonderful, but so does the rest of the world. And we have received the #1 workforce development ranking again for the 6th year by Area Development Magazine, and that's a pretty big coup, I would say. Economic development also, contract training on a local level. We're hearing from business and industry. We're making sure through our advisory councils that we're listening to our local companies to understand what they need. Is our curriculum what is needed for the employees of today and tomorrow for them? Do we need to adjust? And we do this through our business advisory councils, as well as working with businesses on a daily basis. We're excited that we've had an increase also in our contract training. But really today, what I want to talk to you about is technical education. I want to talk to you about some initiatives that we are working on in the area of technical education, as it is our largest component within our colleges. We always want you to know where we are, and our enrollment is approximately 135,000 students. While some of our colleges have experienced increases, we're very proud of them. Just this past year, North Georgia Technical College, Lanier Technical College over the past 2 years has had an increased enrollment. While some of our colleges have experienced positive enrollment, the majority of our colleges have not. System-wide, we are down 5.2% in enrollment. What we know in technical education is when we look nationwide, is that enrollment usually does follow the economy. So when the economy is up, our enrollment kind of dips a little bit, and so we're very excited that the economy is up, but we know that our mission is to make sure that we have students coming through our colleges for education and for economic development. So you will see that we will be focusing on enrollment. A positive piece within this is our graduation rate. Our graduation rate continues to climb. Our 2015 graduates increased by 7.2%, and our total awards increased by 9.6%. So we know that our student success initiatives are paying off. So with that in mind, what are some of our student success initiatives? Well, obviously, all of those on the screen. Complete College Georgia, our articulation agreements with the University System of Georgia, the Georgia Film Academy, military support, Move On When Ready, remedial education redesign, our strategic industries grant, our workforce development grant that you and the governor have worked so graciously with us on. These are the items that are making sure we have more positive enrollment within our college. Through our articulation agreements, we have 28 courses that articulate and transfer between our colleges and the colleges and universities at the University System of Georgia. We have the Georgia Film Academy that now provides TCSG and USG students with the skills needed to join Georgia's growing film industry. You heard both myself and the Chancellor last year talking about the Georgia Film Academy coming on board. I will tell you that the last year we've got our team in place with our executive director, with his team, and we are working to make sure that we are marketing the programming that is taking place already within our colleges and universities to this industry, as well as working with the Academy on additional curriculum. And you've seen press releases over the past 2 weeks of those programs going into Clayton State in the university system, and at the technical college system, Gwinnett Technical College. So we're thrilled about that. Our Go Back, Move Ahead campaign to recapture students who have some college credit but who have not finished their degree, their diploma, their certificate or credential. And so we have those individuals that we are targeting to make sure that they come back to our colleges. Our military support initiatives to serve our active military veterans and their dependents, whether it is our academic training center, again in partnership with the university system, now under construction in Warner Robins, also working with our installations to make sure that we are working with their contractors, with their employees, to make sure that we are having the best partnership we can with our installations, as well as with the individuals who have and who are serving our military. We want to make sure that we are doing that well. Move On When Ready. Obviously, making sure that our coursework that our students take through dual enrollment is aligned and applicable to completion of career pathways. We are making sure that we are working well within our Move On When Ready program. Our remedial education redesign, including the most promising form of redesign, and that is a co-requisite of learning, a co-requisite of remediation, where if we are working with a student on remediation, we have them in a technical course as well, so that they don't think that I've just got to do remediation, and then I can go into technical courses, but that I can do both and immediately go into my credential. And I will say that in adult education, we are doing the same, and we are seeing that it is also providing great results, and that is making sure that if an individual is taking adult education courses, they have the opportunity to take technical education courses. So once that they receive their GED, they can then receive the credit that they would deserve for that technical education. And we just think that that allows greater encouragement. You can see the light at the end of the educational tunnel and going on to your career much easier that way. Complete College Georgia, just as Dr. Wrigley stated, as with USG, TCSG, we are above our goal at this point. We are 22,403 above goal. We love being there, and we think that we are on the correct course in making sure that we complete our goals for Complete College Georgia, because that's what it's all about.
Gretchen, before you leave that, to get to the 200,000 people we need, according to the governor, and we know that the university system is talking about 20,000 graduates. And we're talking certificates, we're talking associate degrees, technical college degrees, and 4-year degrees. Do you feel comfortable, because I think you're going to be the lion's share of this, that we are on course for what your group has to do to make this thing happen?
Yes, sir, I do feel comfortable. I will tell you, just last year, I think that you can see in 2012 to 2013, I would have said, no, sir, we need to talk about some adjustments, but we have at the technical college system through these enrollment, through these partnerships and these strategies that I've just mentioned. Right. I think that that's put us on the correct course. Okay. If you don't mind, Mr. Chairman, I always want to come back to you and say, okay, we've had a dip. I will always be as honest. I will always provide you with that data and tell you we need assistance. But right now we feel very good with the support and initiatives that we are doing.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Our dual enrollment program history, to stay here for a little bit, and I mentioned this during budget hearings, and I'm sure that President Chastain will talk about this, but thank you for the Move On When Ready initiative. We know that we have students who are interested, who are learning, who are moving on, and what we have seen that is so impressive is our credit area, our credit hours. You can see that our orange area here is our fall enrollment. We have fall 2014 to fall 2015. We've gone from, well, we've got our fall from 12 to 15, and you can see 4,800 to 6,400 to 8,800 to then 12,000. So from one fall to the next, after the work that you did with Move On When Ready, from 8,846 to 12,252 students. That's impressive. But then when you look at the blue bar and you look at the credit hours that these students are taking, it tells a story. And it tells a story that we've got some serious students that are are taking college courses, and they are interested in getting more college credit and getting into the college experience and going on either into the workforce or in even higher education. And so we're thrilled about that and continue to appreciate your support. Our Strategic Industries Workforce Development Grant. We know that we have 11 fields. We are excited that all of these you have already provided those for us. We have our 12th coming online with industrial maintenance that the governor has recommended. What we know is that if individuals will go into these fields, they have the ability to receive their education at no cost in the technical colleges and then go into a career sector that has jobs available for those individuals. And so you have provided us, you've provided the students with the ability for the financial assistance. What we want to make sure is that we are following up on the governor's intent, your intent, and we are making sure that we are connecting the students with the companies, because that's our job on a daily basis. And so one of the things that we are going to be doing this year is we are going to spotlight each one of these strategic industries every month. So for a commercial truck driving month, we're bringing in our partners within commercial truck driving. You've heard me say we already do this at colleges. We do it on a statewide level, but we are going to be spotlighting one industry per month like no one has ever spotlighted before. So I hope that you'll look forward to that with me and join us in celebrating one of those industries each month. Mr. Chairman, y'all are always wonderful to say, how can we assist? We have one piece of agency legislation this year, House Bill 745, again, as Dr. Wrigley mentioned, also with the carry forward and the uncollectible accounts reauthorization. And so we would appreciate your support of Chairman Earhart and also Senator Bethel as this goes through the House and the Senate.
Any questions? I see none. Thank you for being here.
Thank you always.
Oh, I'm sorry. Representative Gardner.
Thank you. I'm impressed with the kind of training that you're providing to folks in all of our districts. I've been hearing, as a result of the criminal justice reform, that people in the reentry program have an opportunity to get some of this training, but are having trouble then getting the correct occupational license that they might need in order to actually get the job. Is that something that you have any experience with? I mean, I understand you don't do the licensure, but...
So I appreciate hearing that, because I had not heard that before, and we will definitely check into that and see where we can assist. Where we have really been spending a lot of our time are with the community representatives that the governor provided to make sure that they understand how to connect the individual that is reentering with the technical colleges. And so we will work with our technical ed individuals in our colleges to make sure that we are providing all that's necessary for that.
I've been told that there's some of the licenses that do not allow you to become licensed in that field if you have had a conviction of some sort.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wondered if there's something that we could do that would help those folks get what they need so they could get the job that they need. Thank you.
Representative Gardner, if you don't mind, I'd like to research that and get that back to you. I think there are some answers for that, if you don't mind.
Thank you.
Thank you for bringing that. And if I can add to that, that reminds me in regards to adult education and technical education. With this work, we want to make sure that we have been working from the state level, working with our correctional partners on the state level, and the governor has asked us to do more on the county level this year, and so we look forward to doing that in 2017.
Fulton County will appreciate that.
Thank you.
I think that's it. I was going to ask you something also, Commissioner. I saw on a MARTA bus an ad from, I think it was Piedmont Technical College?
Georgia Piedmont.
Georgia Piedmont. Do you know, do y'all keep up with how that plays as far as, I saw it circling the Capitol 2 days ago, and I said, that's interesting. So do y'all keep up what kind of response you get from that?
We do, and this is one of our first large pieces of advertisement on MARTA, and so we are looking into that. We don't have the results quite yet, okay. But thank you for bringing that up. You'll see that the student there, 2 students are on the MARTA bus, is Justin Walters. He is the adult education star student, and also Stephanie Jackson, who is our goal student, our technical education student of the year. We look forward to them presenting to you this year.
So there are pictures of students on there?
Yes,
okay,
sir.
I didn't see any students when the bus cut in front of me. I was just... The students are on the side then, I guess, right? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Oh, we have another question here from Representative Chandler. What are you, 26? 27. Okay, gotcha.
Is that on now? I want to say how much I appreciate the Remedial Education Redesign Program, because we've all seen these young people get so discouraged that they just quit. So thank you for that.
A pleasure. Thank you.
Okay. Representative Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner, I guess I could have asked this question when Mr. Wrigley was up here, or I could save it for maybe when HB 745 is being presented by Chairman Earhart. But I know this is a sunset deal that we deal with from time to time, and I may be the only person in the room that doesn't know this. But can you tell me what would be the impact if this provision did sunset, and at any point in time we did not renew the provisions that are contained in HB 845? What would actually happen?
Yes, sir, and I'll get you the actual dollars amount. I will follow up with that. But the bottom line of this is, 50% of our colleges, really their revenue, about 50% are state funds and 50% are tuition. And so if they were not able to carry forward, they basically wouldn't have the finances sometimes to continue. We have different college scenarios, financial scenarios, just as Dr. Wrigley mentioned, with some of our larger, some of our smaller colleges. And with some of our smaller colleges, it would literally hamper them in operations. So we don't have, ours is not that large of an amount. Travis, do you have that off the top of your head?
It's $13 million.
Okay. So system-wide, 13 million, 21 colleges. We're obviously looking at about 500,000, but $500,000 to a technical college can make the difference of many instructors or not.
So it's a cash flow timing issue.
Yes, sir.
Basically. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, we have one more. Oh, we got two more. Representative Holcomb.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can you describe a little bit about how the courses are selected? We hear a lot about the skills gap and how you match the courses to the skills gap. And is there any coordination? I know it's a separate entity, the Georgia Film Academy, but in terms of the growing motion picture business. And the reason why I ask is I was meeting with one of the producers of one of the big movies that's taken place now, and what he told me is that they had a real challenge, and other news stories have certainly covered this, of finding skilled workers. And for his film, he's paying about $7 million in travel costs to bring workers in from other places because the domestic talent isn't here. So can you describe it on a broader scale and also specifically to that example?
Sure. On a broader scale, we've done a lot of this research through the Governor's High Demand Career Initiative. And so actually getting out and talking to companies with the Department of Economic Development, with the Technical College System of Georgia, with the University System of Georgia, spending days listening to companies in regards to what they needed in regards to their employment. We've also done research through the Governor's Office of Workforce Development at the Department of Economic Development to see the actual skills gap when we did our Go Build studies and as we continue to do those through the State Workforce Investment Board. So we take a lot of that listening, a lot of the data, and pull that together to understand where that skills gap is in Georgia. In regards to the film industry, they have actually been a component of all of that research. And so anytime we can answer or assist with those questions, if you have constituents that have those needs, we want to listen to those. And then if you don't mind, you mentioned that, the Georgia Film Academy being a different entity. I think that's something important for all of us to note. The Georgia Film Academy, and we've all had these conversations. We are the Georgia Film Academy. The Georgia Film Academy is us. They are representing economic development, the university system, the Technical College System of Georgia, in making sure that we're providing that correct workforce for the film industry. So anything that we can do, we're ready and willing.
Okay, thank you. We've run out of time for Technical College System of Georgia. So next up is, why don't you meet with her out there?
This is so we can promote the complete college information to our constituents.
Most definitely. Thank you.
President Tricia Chastain.
Are you leaving? All right. Oh, mine's right here. Okay. Yeah, there you go. All right. And yours is not PowerPoint, so you just have to. Let's go like that.
Yeah.
And then just touch down. Will it not go full?
You can. It's not PowerPoint.
Oh.
It's Acrobat Reader.
Hold on one second.
You can increase the percentage, but you don't want it off the page.
Okay. So if I just go down like that. Oh, okay.
Make
All right. Well, thank you, Chairman Rogers, Chairman Miller. I appreciate the opportunity to come before the committee today to talk to you, to give you an update on Georgia Student Finance Commission. I just have a couple things, so I think I'm going to be fairly brief. So I'll catch us up. I think Dr. Wrigley took more than his allotted time, so typical of the regents. But no, I really just have a couple things. I was kidding. More time, more money, it's just, no, I just, again, a couple items I want to update you on. First, I want to talk to you about the Path to College plan, Georgia's 529 plan. We have some agency legislation this session, so I want to give you an update on that. And then talk to you about a bill you passed last session that's already been mentioned a couple times, Senate Bill 132, which created the new Move On When Ready program. We're responsible for administering that program at Georgia Student Finance, so just want to update you on some of the trends that we're seeing after the first semester of implementation of that program. Real quick, though, just a reminder, we at Georgia Student Finance, we do about 20 scholarship grant and loan programs that we administer. Of course, all the lottery-funded HOPE programs are the ones that you know us best for, but we have others as well for military, for engineers, for the sons and daughters of our public safety officers that are killed in the line of duty. So we do a large array of different programs. Last year in FY15, we did $640 million to over 225,000 Georgians pursuing post-secondary education. And then we also provide financial aid education services for the state. We have an outreach staff that works in high schools, tries to help families, students, as they kind of navigate the financial aid process, apply to college. If you have never gone to college before, if no one in your family's ever gone before, things like filling out the FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid, even if you have gone, it's actually pretty complicated, can be a big challenge. So we have staff that work in the schools. We also have a call center that takes calls about all of the state programs, the federal programs, and then of course we have GA College 411, which is a great resource for the state. But getting to the topic I want to talk about, Path to College. So this is, I think most of you know, this is our state's essentially tax-free way for Georgians to save for college. We administer all the marketing and outreach out of GSFC for this program, and we have about 134,000, close to 135,000 Georgians that have accounts, representing about $1.8 billion in assets under management. Probably a more important number, I think, is last year in 2015, close to 11,000 families took out $74 million from their 529 accounts to pay for higher education costs. So we are passionate about this program and want to get it to as many Georgians as possible. There was a study done by Washington University about 5 years ago that showed that a child with a 529 plan is 7 times more likely to go to college than a child without a 529 plan. It is a bigger indicator than parent income, than race, than any other socioeconomic factor. Just the fact that they have a plan, it doesn't even matter how much is in it. So if we can get this out to as many Georgians as we can, that's what we want to do. The benefits for account owners, I think you guys know this, but it's low fees. We have no startup fee, no annual fee. The tax advantage for Georgians is that they can deduct up to $2,000 per beneficiary every year, and there's no income cap on that. And then, of course, the money grows tax deferred, and it can be withdrawn tax-free, federal and state tax-free, and that can be really used for any higher education expense, tuition, room, board, and Congress just last year approved technology. So now you can get your laptop, your iPad, your PC for higher education as well. So the legislation that we are proposing, and Chairman Rogers has been kind enough to carry this legislation for us, is really quite simple. All we want to do is allow Georgians to direct their tax refund, if they choose, to their 529 plan, all or a portion of it. So how that would work in practice is on the tax form, when the section where you put in where you want your tax return to go, there would be another section under that that would say, would you like to contribute any of your tax refund to a 529 plan? If you say yes, you put in your account number, and it's there. So it's just another tool, another way to increase contributions. Some other states, Ohio, Virginia, Alabama have done this and seen some success. So again, we'll be seeking that. It's been referred to the Ways and Means Committee, but I hope you will give it consideration if it makes it to the full chamber. So move on when ready. Again, you've already heard about some of this, heard about this today and in the budget hearings. And again, just to recap, so the goal of Senate Bill 132 was obviously to increase dual enrollment. We see again and again that students who are exposed to college classes while they're in high school do better in college. They persist. They graduate at a higher rate. So the goal was to do that. And there was really 3 things that I think SB 132 did. First, it removed kind of the red tape and the bureaucracy around dual enrollment. Before, there were 3 programs. We administered 2 of them. DOE administered 1. It was difficult for students to figure out how to apply and what classes they could take. So we rolled them all into 1 program, and it's Move On When Ready, and it's streamlined, and we're administering it. We made it more attractive from a cost perspective, and I'll talk about that in a minute. And then we expanded the course offerings. Before, it was generally just core courses that students can take, and now they can take more than that. On the funding piece, so we reimburse the institutions for tuition, books, and fees for these students. I will say the university system, the technical college system, the private schools, we are reimbursing them at a rate that is certainly lower than what they would normally charge a student, certainly when it comes to fees and books. So kind of everyone has skin in the game and is investing in this, and it's working well, and it's showing with the numbers for sure. If you look at this next slide here, our numbers are up 37%. We have close to 23,000 students in the fall who participated in the Move On When Ready program. To put that that in perspective, just from Brett, then I said this at the budget hearings, but we have 445 public high schools in the state. There are 439 that are participating in this program. When you add private schools, home schools, over close to 1,000, and then every USG, TCSG institution is participating, plus 23 private schools. So we have 75 institutions. So post-secondaries and high schools have really embraced this program. Just showing you here kind of the split. I think this is the first year that TCSG has the majority by a small amount of our dual enrollment students. About 52% of our Move On When Ready students are enrolled at TCSG, so they've done a great job of working in their communities and in their high schools to roll this program out. I remember there was quite a bit of discussion about whether or not this program should be offered to 9th and 10th grade students when this was debated last year. So I just thought I'd show you this. It is being offered. We actually leave it up to the post-secondaries to make that decision, and most of them are allowing it, but it only represents about 10% of the overall number. Obviously, the large majority of the students who are taking these classes are still seniors and then juniors. Course distribution. Still 73% it's core courses, and our top 5 courses are core courses. But then there's the non-core courses, and this is CTAE courses that students are taking, and the technical colleges is offering a lot of these classes. This, I think, is one of the neat ways that Move On When Ready is reaching students that we probably weren't reaching before with the old dual enrollment programs. I think previously we were probably just reaching students who were excelling anyways. They were doing great in high school, so they're going to go ahead and take a college class. With this new expanded course list, we're reaching students that I think might not have considered going to college, might not have even explored technical college or anything, and now they have the opportunity to do that through this program. So that's just a breakdown of the course distribution. And that's all I have for you today, Chairman. I'll take any questions if there are any. Thank you.
Don't see any yet. I was going to ask, well, there's one.
There you go.
Let me ask this. In your chain of command, you've got a breakdown in the budget book, enterprise security. What is enterprise security with with the Georgia Student Finance Commission?
Well, we have a lot of data, as you can imagine, from all our recipients of our scholarship, loan, and grant program. So our enterprise security officer is the individual. It's actually that job, and I'm not sure how it's in the org chart in the budget, but it's not a full-time position at this time.
Okay.
Our CIO is handling that at this point, but it's just making sure that we have all the security measures in place with all with the data that we handle.
So that's in addition to the information technology section you have.
That is, but that actually is the same person at this point.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So it sounds like we need to update the org chart.
Okay. I just saw that reading through the budget book. Representative Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. President Chastain, will you clarify for me under the Section 529 plan, path to college? I sort of view the 529 plan as like IRAs or 401ks for the general population. If someone is participating in this, is placing their funds in the state program for management, the path to college, their only option, or can they still participate in the 529 and glean the tax deferments and whatnot, and place those monies with the investment advisor or broker of their choice?
Right. Ours is a direct sold state-sponsored plan, 529 plan. There are some states that have brokered plans, and you can, and you could, right now, you could join the Nevada plan or the Virginia plan, anything you want. Ours is really targeted towards Georgians. We do have out-of-state participants. I think about 5% of our account holders are out-of-state, but they don't get the tax benefit of participating. But you, as a Georgian, you get the tax benefit for participating in the Georgia 529 plan, but you can use it for any. You don't have to use it for Georgia institutions. You can use it for really any eligible college in the country.
But I'm still a little unclear. If I'm a Georgian and I'm participating in the 529 plan, do I have to park my money with the state's program for investment,
yes,
or can I park it elsewhere?
No, you have to park it with our plan, and TIACREF administers it, and they do about 9 other direct sold plans for the country. So it's actually managed. The money's managed by TIACREF.
Okay.
Is that?
Yeah, that answers
okay.
the question. Thank you.
Okay, I think that's it. Thank
right,
you.
thank you.
Good job. Good presentation. Okay, Executive Director Karina Robinson. And for all of you, this is for all the private schools that she regulates and administers. And we passed some legislation for her last year, or I should say for her agency, to help them through some changes they need to make. So.
Thank you, Chairman Rogers and Chairman Miller and committee members for having me here today, especially since y'all didn't invite me to do this last year. I realized when I got the invite this year that I didn't do it last year, so thank you. Due to time's sake and my counterparts taking up more time, though I got them back by coughing throughout their presentations. Sorry about that. I think the committee members that are present here now were here last year. I don't think there's anybody new. I was going to go through and just give a reminder as to what this agency does. I'll kind of skip ahead through that presentation and just to highlight some key areas. Thank you again, Chairman Rogers and Miller, for sponsoring our agency legislation last year and the committee for supporting it. It was very helpful. We don't have agency legislation this year, but we do have agency goals that I will get into. MPEC is one of the major higher education systems in Georgia. University system, technical college system, the independent colleges are exempt from us except for the purpose of receiving student complaints. In order for them to receive federal financial aid, they have to have an outside complaint entity, and this was part of our HB 353 bill last year, to where MPEC now receives their student complaints to satisfy that federal financial aid requirement. MPEC provides a service to Georgia citizens by authorizing and regulating colleges and schools. As most of y'all know, they're the for-profits. That's the primary schools that we authorize. Yeah. Our mission is to ensure that each authorized non-public post-secondary educational institution doing business in Georgia is educationally sound and financially viable. I'm going to skip through some of this. If y'all have questions, if there's anything that caught your attention through the presentation, please let me know. In FY15, MPEC authorized 310 post-secondary educational institutions. Of those, 156 institutions were degree granting and 154 institutions were non-degree granting. These institutions serve more than 110,000 students annually. For the non-degree granting, those are certificates. For example, aviation maintenance, patient care technician, welding, medical office assistant, or just to name a few. Another key function that MPEC handles is the Tuition Guarantee Trust Fund. So this is a safety net for students attending our schools. The fund serves as an insurance pool of funds available for students of closed institutions. Authorized institutions have to make 5 annual payments into the fund, which is designed to provide a teach-out or reimbursement to students at institutions which close or fail to honor commitments to complete students' program of study. Onto our goals. Consumer protection is our theme, and what is the main importance of MPEC is to protect our Georgia students attending these schools. Beginning this year and over the next 4 years, we're going to increase public awareness of MPEC's roles in consumer protection in the state. We plan to conduct public forums, attend college fairs, publish an agency brochure, and increase the level of awareness among other state agencies. Additionally, in 2015, the Commission implemented a rigorous financial viability assessment of authorized schools. This is to ensure that teach-outs and student reimbursements are minimized from the Tuition Guarantee Trust Fund. This June, we'll complete a full year of these new financial viability assessments. So in our next annual report, I'll be able to fully report on what the assessments, how many assessments we did and the outcomes of those. Our schools are market driven, and with the economy, if the economy is bad, enrollment goes up in our schools. We see more schools opening, new programs being added. If the economy's doing great, the enrollment goes down. We've already started to see a trend over the past year. Schools are eliminating programs. Sadly, some of them are closing, and that's why the increased effort in our financial viability assessment, it really hones in into their cash on hand. I have a external auditor that works with our standards administrator who conducts these financial viability assessments. Some of these schools are owned by parent corporations. We look at their financials, and that's why I have an external auditor to review those. And so that is going to help. I'm excited about those assessments, just because it's going to be able to help us look ahead. We can see if a school is in trouble. When they renew with us annually, they got to give us audit reports. And this will be able. Now we'll be able to tell if they are in trouble, and maybe potentially closing. We can work with them to not close and come up with other solutions. We will also continue to enhance our authorization process through innovative technology initiatives. You may have heard me talk about this last year. We have a fairly new website and database, so no more paper. When our new schools are seeking authorization, they can apply online. Current schools can renew online. Another new feature that we should be ready to go this May, if not sooner, we're going to accept online payments from institutions. And also students requesting transcripts have to pay a $10 fee. They can pay online, and we can do a quicker turnaround of getting their transcripts to them. These technology initiatives streamlines our authorization process and is more efficient for the agency, consumer, and institutions. Finally, we are committed to providing careful oversight to ensure that all non-public educational institutions in Georgia doing business are academically sound and financially stable. Thank you.
Hey, thank you.
And I did not do a very good job flipping through the slide.
You did. Good job. Any questions from anybody? Okay. And her agency is attached to the Georgia Student Finance Commission. It's the last item on the budget, I noticed, too. So.
Correct. We're administratively attached. So if anybody has questions about us and they ask President Chastain, she may give them a blank stare.
Okay. All right. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Dr. Baxter, I didn't make the agenda out, but do you want to say anything since you represent the independent colleges while you're here?
Thank you. Susanna Baxter, represent 26 of the not-for-profit private colleges in the state, ranging all across the state, both with bricks and mortar campuses, but also with an online presence, serving a great number of Georgians and then out-of-state students as well. 40% of our students receive the federal Pell Grant. So we serve an echelon of student. You talk about need-based aid. We have great interest in that, in raising lots of money for institutional aid, for student scholarships to make college affordable for all students, for any institution they want to attend. We have approximately 16% of our students are over the age of 25. We passed out, and you've got to see, Representative Gardner has it in front of her. You've got the fact book that you can look through and see greater detail, but if you have any questions about any of our institutions and how they serve this great state, please let me know.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. Okay, Chairman Miller.
We thank everybody for being here today. Next week, the Senate Higher Ed Committee is going to meet with the Senate Health Committee, and our House members are welcome as well, at 2 o'clock. And last year, former Senator Ramsey, now Judge Ramsey, had a bill about sexual assault. And at the time, the university system expected a report to the Board of Regents in May, and they rendered that report. And we told Senator Ramsey at the time that we would have a meeting in January, February, when we came back in session, the results of that study, and also between May and now, what they're actually doing to implement recommendations. So we will have that meeting next week. It'll start at 2 o'clock, probably be over at the Capitol in one of the bigger rooms. The House committee members are certainly welcome to attend, but it'll be a joint meeting if we'll run from 2 to whenever. And so you all are certainly invited to that. And I know Chairman Rogers and I appreciate you all attending today. We appreciate the institutions and your patience with us. And with that, I think we're adjourned. And the members, of course, for being here, particularly all those House members that stuck in here with us. Thank you so much. You know?